Have you ever wondered what happens when the vows of marriage, once so sacred, begin to crack under the weight of unspoken desires? Today, we're diving into a story that explores just that, a tale of love, betrayal, and the devastating consequences of a single, life-altering mistake. It's a reminder of how fragile trust can be, and how quickly a seemingly perfect life can unravel. Let's meet Sarah and Tom. To everyone who knew them, they were the perfect couple. They'd met in college, two bright-eyed dreamers who fell in love over late-night study sessions and shared pizzas. Their wedding was a beautiful, sun-drenched affair, filled with laughter and promises of forever. They bought a charming little house with a garden, adopted a goofy golden retriever, and soon their life was a picture of domestic bliss. Tom was a dedicated architect, passionate about his work, often staying late to perfect his designs. Sarah, a talented graphic designer, worked from home, which gave her the flexibility she chose. For 10 years, their life together was a smooth, comfortable rhythm. They supported each other's dreams, celebrated each other's successes, and navigated the small bumps in the road with a united front. To the outside world, and even to themselves, their bond seemed unbreakable. But over time, a subtle shift began to occur. The comfortable rhythm started to feel more like a monotonous routine. Tom's long hours at the office, once a sign of his ambition, now felt like a growing distance between them. The spontaneous date nights were replaced by tired evenings on the couch, each absorbed in their own screens. The conversations that once flowed endlessly now felt stilted, revolving around grocery lists and bills. Sarah started to feel a creeping sense of loneliness, an invisible wall building up around her heart. She loved Tom, of course she did, but the spark, the excitement that had once defined their relationship, seemed to have faded into a dim glow. She felt unseen, taken for granted. The little compliments, the playful gestures, the deep, soulful conversations, they were all memories from a chapter that felt long closed. A quiet ache settled in her chest, a longing for something more. A feeling she couldn't quite name, but felt with every fiber of her being. It was during this vulnerable period that Mark entered her life. He was a freelance photographer she was collaborating with on a new project. Mark was everything Tom wasn't at that moment. He was charismatic, attentive, and he saw her. He didn't just see the wife or the homeowner. He saw Sarah, the artist. He complimented her design choices, listened intently to her ideas, and his eyes would light up when she spoke about her passions. Their work-related coffee meetings slowly morphed into longer lunches. The conversations drifted from project deadlines to personal dreams, fears, and frustrations. Mark made her laugh. A deep, genuine laugh she hadn't realized she'd been missing. He made her feel vibrant, interesting, and desirable. For the first time in a long time, Sarah felt a thrill, a dangerous, exhilarating spark that both terrified and captivated her. She told herself it was just a friendship, a harmless ego boost. She was just enjoying the attention. That's all. It meant nothing. But the line between friendship and something more began to blur with alarming speed. A lingering touch on the arm, a late-night text that was a little too personal, a shared glance that held a world of unspoken meaning. Sarah knew she was playing with fire. A voice in her head screamed at her to pull back, to remember her vows, to think of Tom and the life they had built. But another voice, a seductive whisper, told her she deserved to feel this way. She deserved to be happy, to feel alive. One rainy afternoon, after a particularly successful project presentation, the celebration continued at a quiet bar. One drink led to another, and the emotional intimacy they had been building for weeks finally spilled over into a physical one. In that moment, fueled by loneliness and a longing to feel wanted, Sarah crossed a line she knew she could never uncross. The thrill was immediately replaced by a tidal wave of guilt and panic. This wasn't a harmless flirtation anymore. This was a betrayal. Life at home became a torturous act. Every I love you from Tom felt like a knife twisting in her gut. She would flinch when he touched her, her mind replaying moments with Mark. The guilt was a constant, heavy cloak she couldn't shrug off. She became irritable and distant, creating even more of a chasm between her and Tom. He noticed the change, of course. He'd ask if she was okay, if work was stressful, if there was something wrong. He'd try to connect, suggesting date nights or a weekend away. But Sarah would always find an excuse. She couldn't bear to look him in the eye, knowing the secret she was hiding. The affair with Mark continued, a desperate, chaotic addiction. Each meeting was a cocktail of fleeting pleasure and profound She was trapped in a web of her own making, deceiving the person she had promised to love and honor, and losing a piece of herself with every lie she told. The truth, as it often does, came out in the most mundane way. Tom, needing to print a contract for work, used Sarah's laptop because his was updating. Her email was open, and a new message from Mark popped up on the screen. The subject line was innocent enough. Tonight. But the preview of the message was anything but. It spoke of their last meeting with an intimacy that was unmistakable. Tom felt the world drop from beneath his feet. It was a physical sensation, a punch to the gut that stole his breath. He clicked open the email chain, his hands trembling. There it was, in black and white, weeks of secret messages, clandestine meetings, a detailed account of the betrayal he never in a million years thought possible. The woman he loved, the woman he had built his entire life with, was a stranger to him. He read through the emails, each word a fresh wound. The love letters of another man to his wife. The foundation of their 10-year marriage didn't just crack. It shattered into a million irreparable pieces. The confrontation was quiet, almost eerily so. There was no screaming, no throwing things. Just a hollow, echoing silence filled with pain. Tom sat on the edge of their bed, the laptop open between them, his face pale and edged with a profound sadness Sarah had never seen before. He didn't need to say much. He just asked, why? And for all her prepared excuses, all her rationalizations, Sarah had no real answer. All she could offer were tears and a choked, "I'm so sorry." But sorry was a meaningless word. It couldn't erase the lies. It couldn't heal the wound. It couldn't rebuild the trust that had been annihilated. Tom looked at her, his eyes empty of the love she had always taken for granted, and said, "I don't even know who you are anymore." Those words were more devastating than any shout could have been. In that moment, Sarah saw the full scope of the destruction she had caused. It wasn't just about a physical act. She had destroyed their shared history, their future, and the very identity of their relationship. In the end, there was nothing left to save. The home they had filled with love and laughter became a cold, silent space divided by an invisible line. Tom moved out, unable to sleep in the bed they had shared, unable to look at the woman who had broken his heart. The divorce was swift and clinical, a sterile process that officially ended what was already dead. Sarah was left alone in the quiet house, surrounded by the ghosts of a life she had single-handedly destroyed. Mark, the catalyst for the entire disaster, disappeared from her life as quickly as he had entered it. The thrill of the affair couldn't withstand the harsh reality of the fallout. Sarah was left with nothing but the crushing weight of her regret. She had chased a fleeting feeling of excitement and, in the process, had lost everything that truly mattered. Her partner, her home, her integrity, and her own self-respect. The perfect life she once had was now just a painful memory. A constant reminder that some mistakes can't be undone, and some cracks can never be repaired. This story is a sobering look at how the pursuit of a temporary desire can lead to permanent damage. It's a reminder to cherish and nurture the love we have, to communicate through the difficult times, and to understand that the foundations of trust, once broken, are nearly impossible to rebuild. Thank you for joining me for this story today. If you found this compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the complexities of human relationships. We'll see you in the next video.